Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Thank you for tuning back in. I'm really excited to share with you today another tip to ask better questions. I want you to ask amazing questions that get you really useful information. And I also want the people you're asking questions of to understand them and feel like bought in. Yeah, I want to answer these so that they give you honest, truthful, reflecting their experience information, right? This is good data. You want good data so you can make good decisions, so that you can tell a meaningful and compelling story about your work and the difference you're making in the world, right? So we want to learn to ask better questions. And today I want to share with you number one tip if you only can do one thing to improve your questions, right? If it's like, I don't have time for all these tips, I don't have time to like go through these questions again and again, fine. If you can only do one thing for whatever reason, this is the one thing I want you to do. It's super simple. Yes, it's going to take a couple minutes, maybe 15, 20 minutes. You're going to have to go out and find a person to help you, but I promise you it will be so worth it. Here it is. Take the quiz, survey, feedback form, questionnaire, poll, whatever it is, whatever the question you want to ask in the format you want to ask it is, take it and sit down with someone who shares the same characteristics as the people you want to ask the question. So, for instance, if you want to survey millennial women who run a small business, then you might sit down with me. If you want to survey someone who has worked in the tech industry for 5 years, you would not survey me, right? Like, think about the special characteristics of the person or the people that you're going to want this information from. Things you might think about would be, maybe what's their age? Does their gender matter? Does it matter geographically where they live? Does it matter, how much education they have? Does it matter where they shop? Or does it matter, what colors they like? Whatever is important to you, right? So think about like your target audience, ideal client. There's lots of words for this, right? But basically, it's the people you want info from. Think about what characteristics they have and go out and find someone. You probably know someone, someone who shares those characteristics, and sit down with them. And here's what you're going to do. You're going to ask them to literally take the question, like we'd say take the survey, but like to read and answer the question aloud. So in research, we call this a cognitive lab or a cognitive interview, or more simply, sometimes it gets called a think aloud, right? Basically, the idea is I want you to read me the question, and then I want you to narrate to me what you're thinking as you go to answer the question. And if it's a question that I've given you some options for, I want you to read each choice aloud and just talk me through the decision of how you're making your choice, right? I want to give you an example, and this is an example that I learned from my dissertation chair when we were refining a survey for the school district of Philadelphia. And I love this example because I feel like it really demonstrates like what a think aloud is, right? So a think aloud, like we'd get the questions, they'd be on a sheet of paper. So pretend this piece of paper has a question on it because you want them to read the question. They could be looking at a computer screen and the question could be typed up online, totally fine. Whatever it is, have the question. So I'm gonna read the question to you. I'm gonna model a think aloud right now. Ready. In the past 3 days, how much time have you spent talking on the phone? 0 to 3 hours, 4 to 6 hours, 7 to 10 hours, more than 10 hours. Okay. In the past 3 days, how long have I spent talking on the phone? So the past 3 days, today is Tuesday. Today's Tuesday, and it's like evening, so it's basically been a full day. It's been a full work day. So I wonder if I count Tuesday in the past 3 days. Yeah, the day's almost over. I'm gonna count Tuesday because it's in the past 3 days. So Tuesday, Monday, Sunday. How much time have I spent talking to the phone? Okay, so let me think about how much time I've spent talking to the phone. Well, today when I took Calyx for a walk, I called my mom and we were on the phone for like 30 minutes, and I actually call her every day when I want Calyx, so that's like 30 minutes today, 30 minutes Monday, 30 minutes Sunday, so that's 90 minutes total. Okay. And gosh, well, I had to make a call to UPS about a package. That was like 15 minutes today. So that's like 105 minutes total. I've had a couple Zoom meetings this week. Does that count as talking on the phone? That's technically, it's a video call, but I did call in to one of them, like on my phone. I dialed in because I was not at my office. So I don't know if I should count that or not. That was a 60-minute call. I was on the phone, but it was really a Zoom. So do they want to know about Zooms? It says talk on the phone. I was on the phone. I was talking. I'm not going to count it. I don't think they want to know that. I'm not going to count that. And honestly, the only other times that I've talked to people have been on Zoom. So I'm not going to count any of that. That's like 4 or 5 hours. I'm not going to count any of those hours. So I think I've really only talked like 105 minutes on the phone in the past 3 days. So I'm going to pick the first option, 0 to 3. Okay. So you've just heard me narrate this. That's like the think aloud. I'm telling you how I'm coming to my response. Like, draw it out a little bit. Some people will answer very shortly, and you might want to ask them follow-up questions, which we'll talk about in a minute. Some people could answer at length, which is great if they answer at length, because knowledge is power. We love information. So if you heard me give you that feedback about the question, you know a couple important things. One is, what the heck do you mean by the past 3 days? And I didn't even get into all the questions you could have. Like, do you want to know work days? Do weekends count? Should I count this current day that I'm on? Those are all things you want people to be thinking about the same time frame in order to have consistent information. So the past 3 days is not going to be a good qualifier. You might want to say something like, think about the past like full week, right? Sunday through Saturday or Monday through Sunday, however you do it, like put really specific time bounds on it so that you know everyone's thinking about the same period of time. Then you think about talk on the phone, and it's like, okay, well, do you want to know social calls, personal calls, work calls, right? Anytime someone like picks up a phone, does that count? That's something important to clarify, and particularly in this digital, lots of people still working from home age, you want to think about, I could call into a Zoom call on my phone, but it was intended to be a video conference, so does that count? Think about all of these things. And if this was my question, I would make some modifications. I would say, like, the purposes of which they've talked on the phone, or clarify. They could be for any reason if you were on the phone, whether or not it was, for a virtual meeting or not. Please include that, or please don't include that, and like give that extra instruction. Having this think aloud with someone gives you the insight into how someone is thinking about the questions that you are asking, and that allows you to say, yes, they are interpreting this how I intended it. I'm going to get good information, or, oh my gosh, this is not the like frame I wanted them to think about, or, oh wow, those answer choices really don't fit at all. And it gives you the opportunity to hear that and experience that firsthand. And I always say, like, I would do it with, you can do it with one person. More people is always better, especially if you get feedback that you're not sure, like, would everyone think that? Is that really confusing, or is this just unique for this person? So if you can ask more people, that's great. But even just getting one opinion that is not yours from someone who represents the people who are going to be answering these questions can be so insightful. I've done this for every survey I've ever designed, and I can tell you that I have never had an instance of like, well, it was perfect, no changes necessary. There are always changes that I make after doing one of these experiences with people, because things that I think are really straightforward, or that I'm too close, and other people are like, hey, that's actually confusing. And so you can also prompt people to like draw out more of a response or just to clarify things they've said. So some things that I like to ask specifically are, did this question make sense to you? Were there any words or terms I used that were confusing? Was it really easy for you to pick your answer? Or did you feel like something was missing? Did you understand like why I'm asking this question? If I'm at like having them look at like 5 or 10 questions at the same time for like a longer survey, I might say like how did the length feel? Did you start to get frustrating? Overall, how did the questions make you feel? Just really to get their experience. Like, this is what it's like for me to answer these questions. Then I can use all of those insights to make it a better experience and also to make the questions better so that I get better information. Again, I think getting feedback from this from even one person can be hugely valuable. It's not that you have to take it all, right? You can decide these are your questions. You can decide what feedback you want to take and what feedback you want to leave, but it is so helpful to hear a personal experience of someone walking through that survey, poll, questionnaire, feedback form, assessment, whatever it is, and to really hear this thought process. I truly believe, and in my experience, it helps you to get so much more clear and specific with your questions and make the answering question experience so much more meaningful and enjoyable for the people you're asking. So if you can only do one thing to improve the questions you're asking, do this. Test them out with people who represent the people that you want to get the information from. And of course, if this was helpful, I would love it if you subscribed and shared it with your friends and colleagues. Thanks so much, y'all.